The first thing I heard was the metal scream of a health bar shattering. It didn't come from my phone, or my laptop, or a speaker. It ripped through the kitchen like someone cracked open the ceiling and poured game audio straight into my skull. A red -20 flashed in the air above my sink, and then evaporated like smoke. And then the sound of heavy footsteps, thud, 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 syncing with a drum loop I knew too well from boss arenas. I dropped the cereal bowl. Milk splashed my socks. My apartment light flickered into a harsh, saturated bloom, like the gamma slider got punched to 150%. And standing in the doorway, shoulders scraping paint off the frame, was a Titan-styled Roblox boss with blocky pauldrons, a crown clipped into his angular head, and a smile that never touched the eyes. Player detected. He boomed, voice layered with filtered reverb. Aggro set to max. He lunged, and the kitchen tile glitched beneath my feet. 3D gridding for a split second, then real again. I dove behind the counter. A slam shook the cupboards and a barrage of glowing red miss, and one humiliating -3 popped in midair before dissolving. Are you for real? I gasped and answered myself. It was real. The boss was in my apartment. My kettle, very real. My heartbeat, painfully real. The giant, blocky, wrong, but casting a shadow on my fridge. The line between the game and my life had just turned to fog. Phase 1. Intro, the boss intoned. He hefted an enormous sword, more like a candy bar with murder in its heart, and swung. I ducked. The blade carved a perfect diagonal through the toaster, which fell apart like it had just been unassembled in studio. From the hall came the sudden ding of my elevator. Then the door slid open with a metallic sigh, and out stepped a girl in a real puffer jacket and real messy bun, clutching a grocery bag like a shield. My neighbor, Eva. She saw the Titan. The Titan saw her. We both yelled, "Don't." Eva chucked a carton of eggs at him with the pure panic aim of someone who never expected to fight polygons on a Sunday. The eggs exploded in perfect round splats, and bright yellow crit numbers bloomed in the air. The Titan froze, expression unchanged but health bar dipping by the tiniest sliver. "Food buff," I said, stunned. "That actually worked?" Phase 2. The Titan growled. "Minions." A rip tore open in my living room, the air folding like a sheet of glass, and out stumbled 3 smaller Roblox mobs. A skeleton with a grin painted too wide, a knight with a helmet that clipped through his neck every third frame, and a witch NPC whose cauldron was still glued to her hand. They charged. I grabbed the broom. Eva hefted her bag like a mace. We met in the middle. Real people, real lungs burning, tangling with bad clipping and perfect hitboxes. I jabbed. The broom poked the skeleton square in the sternum, and a chalky -6 floated up with a little chime. Eva's grocery bag collided with the witch's face and exploded into a cloud of flour. For a second, the whole apartment looked like a snow globe filled with glitching pixels. The witch coughed up a soundbite. The knight tripped over my coffee table, which popped a physics error message into the air. Prop, not anchored. I didn't have time to read the rest. The Titan was winding up again. I yelled to Eva. "Kitchen, lure them." We backed toward the stove. The witch slipped on milk. The skeleton hit the spilled cereal and went full ragdoll, limbs splaying out like a broken puppet. The Titan swung. The blade cleaved the edge of my counter, but the impact number that popped was blocked, and for a second, the world shimmered. The counter snapped to a Roblox plastic texture. My tiles looked like baseplate, and then everything reset, like reality hated the edit and undid it. "Okay," Eva said, breathless. "This is very not fine." Another boom came. Not from the Titan this time, from outside. Sirens. Not police, though, something deeper. The kind of siren that no Real City uses. The kind that means the Moon Lord has awoken, or a bounty event has begun. My phone vibrated. The lock screen flashed a banner. Server raid. Bosses deployed to live map. You are target. No app icon. Just that. "Why you?" Eva asked, eyes wide. I had an awful idea. Last night, I'd fallen asleep with Roblox Studio open and an experimental plugin I shouldn't have downloaded. World Merge, beta, shady forum link, devs begging not to run outside a sandbox. I'd run it. I'd clicked publish to me. The Titan raised his sword to the ceiling, and the entire apartment dimmed like the universe took a breath. Phase 3, he roared. Chase. He charged through the wall. Not through the doorway. Through the wall. Drywall fountained dust. The hall lights turned neon purple. The cheap carpet snapped to a grid, and the exit sign above the stairs refracted into stylized exit dash arrows, pulsing. We ran. Down the stairwell, the echo of our footsteps overlapped with a looping boss track. On the second-floor landing, we almost collided with two kids in real school uniforms, eyes huge, clutching a cat carrier. Through the mesh, an actual cat yowled at the skeleton mob pouring down after us. "Get inside," I yelled, and swung the broom handle like a bat. The skeleton's head popped off with a clay pot thunk, rolled, and then pivoted to look at me. "Oh, come on." It bit the broom. I flung it. It clattered down the stairs, trailing a string of low-damage numbers like a sulky confetti. We burst out onto the street into a world that had decided reality was optional. The crosswalk was a glowing obby. Cars had UI tags hovering above them like Player CAR in a straight font. A bus stop flickered between a real poster for a phone plan and a Roblox event banner for an update with way too many exclamation marks. People had noticed. A man in a real suit stood filming with his real phone, mouth open. A cyclist swerved around a glitched tile. A kid yelled, "Mom, it's the Titan from Tower Siege." And then the Titan smashed through the glass lobby behind us like a paper set, sending shards and a +5 materials pop up into the air. We sprinted toward the park. Eva kept pace, grocery bags swinging like a medieval weapon. The Titan's steps cratered the sidewalk. The night and witch and an entire additional wave of mobs poured after us like someone had cranked spawn rates. A giant panda-headed DJ NPC, who I swear I'd only ever seen at silly event hubs, rolled up behind them on a speaker cart blasting a bass drop. "Why is there a DJ?" I yelled. "Boss music," Eva panted. Obviously, the park had transformed. The oak trees were glowing lanterns that hummed like they were alive. The path was dotted with glowing rings. A fountain in the center was rippling in perfect looping waves that never lost volume. And across the grass, a group of very real teenagers were clustered behind a chess table, holding actual skateboards. One of them had tears on his face. "Is this a prank?" he screamed at no one. "It's a raid," I shouted back, without time to explain. The Titan leaped. The ground shook. His health bar refilled slightly with a mean little chime. A quest arrow, bright and rude, appeared over my head. "Protect EVA 0/1. "I feel insulted," she snapped. "I feel flattered," I said. And then we ducked as the sword whooshed over our heads and chopped down a lamppost. We ran under the arch. The fountain sprayed, and the mist glowed weirdly. The witch NPC hurled green globs that sizzled when they hit the path. Eva scooped one with a metal trash can live like a pro wrestler with better aim and bounced it back. It splattered on the night. His armor melted into a comedy of wobbling polygons, leaving him in perfect boxer shorts with tiny hearts. He looked at himself, looked at us, shrugged with his whole blocky torso, and ran away. I laughed. I couldn't help it. The sound came out like a bark, edged with hysteria. A 5-foot-tall gnome NPC popped in next to the fountain and started doing an emote with a fishing rod. He looked at me with glassy, cheerful eyes and said, "Press E to fish," in a syrupy voice, as a meteor arced down in the distance and exploded, and the boss music swelled. "Not the time," I wheezed. He repeated, "Press E to fish." A ripple went through the sky. It looked like heat haze, but cold. The clouds pixelated, then smoothed. Buildings shivered into low poly, then back. Far above, for a dizzy second, I saw a cursor the size of a billboard, the invisible hand of a ghost dev dragging our city into the right folder. A system banner split the sky. Live update. Reality Mixer 1.03 deployed. Who deployed that? Eva gasped. "Maybe I did," I said, which felt like confessing I'd leaned on the big red button labeled Turn on Nightmare. Before she could say anything, the Titan pointed at me. Phase 4, Mechanics. A ring exploded out from his feet, bright, neon, expanding. We jumped it. 2 more rings, taller. I dragged Eva by the wrist, her palm real and sweaty and human against mine. We jumped again. The second ring snapped my shoe laces like laser tripwire. I stumbled, caught myself, didn't stop. "Split," someone yelled. A very real park ranger in a very real green uniform stood behind a bench with a real megaphone. "You too." Keep moving. We'll kite the ads. She had no idea what she was saying. She said it anyway. A few brave idiots with real sticks and a dented scooter stepped up behind her. I realized the most dangerous thing we had wasn't weapons, it was belief. Our city had accepted this. The interface, the health bars, the map markers. And the more we accepted it, the more solid the wrongness became. Don't let it write the rules, I muttered, half to myself. If it writes the rules, it wins. What does that even mean? Eva shouted, dodging a witch bomb. It means, but I didn't get to finish, because the Titan stomped and the ground fractured into a glowing grid of safe tiles and death tiles. The pattern shifted, rattle-quick. People screamed. I grabbed the gnome by his pointy hat and flung him to the safe square. Press E2. He started, and then the death tile burned up a bench. I moved without thinking, instincts welded from years of dodging telegraphs and safe zones. Eva mirrored me. We made it to the fountain as the Titan's sword sent a shockwave of numbers arcing through the air, each digit tumbling like confetti. We slid behind the fountain base. Water mist cooled my face, for real. Phase 5. Eva said, panting. Is there a Phase 5? Are we supposed to, what? Find glowing weak spots. Knock him down. He doesn't even have kneecaps. He has a crown, I said, peering around the fountain. The crown bristled with gem sockets. Most were lit. One, near the back, was dark. There, I said. His vulnerable socket. Eva blinked. That's the nerdiest sentence you've ever said. You don't know me well enough to assume that, I said, and grabbed the trash can lid like a discus. The Titan charged a beam. I stood up, exhaled, and threw. The lid whirled, whistling, and smacked the crown. The dark socket flared painfully bright, and a chain reaction lit through the gems like a Christmas catastrophe. The Titan staggered. A roar split the park. His health bar sliced down by a quarter with a triumphant timpani roll. He recovered fast. The ground regridded. My vision vignette like I was low on stamina. The DJ NPC spun a knob, and the bass went face-melting. Phase 5, the Titan snarled. Escalation. A portal yawned open over the fountain, wide as a whale's mouth, its edges carpentered from polygons and fog. From inside, something moved. Big. Bigger than Titan. I saw scales. Claws. And then instead of a dragon, a school bus fell out. An actual school bus, honked once, and landed perfectly on the grass with a little jolt and a shimmering outline like it had just been claimed. The doors folded open. A very real bus driver in a bright vest leaned out, eyes wild. Get in, he yelled. I don't know why I said that, but get in. We got in. So did the park ranger. The teens. The cat. The gnome NPC toddled up the steps, still chirping his one line. The Titan raised his sword like a judge. Drive, I yelled. The bus lurched. The DJ NPC was flung onto the steps and got stuck in the door. The witch clung to the bumper like an angry teal ornament. The skeleton head pinballed down the aisle and hit the stop cord with a ding. Where are we going? The driver demanded. Anywhere that's not his arena, I said. It's all his arena, Eva said under her breath. She was right. We barreled into the street. The city looked like a lobby threw up. Floating arrows, scrolling chats that weren't chats but graffiti that animated, loot orbs bouncing in gutters. People, real people, ran. A few Roblox avatars ran too, their feet not matching the pavement, leaving cube-shaped footprints that evaporated. My phone buzzed again. Another banner. Bosses engaged in all districts. Speedrun mode enabled. Time to wipe. 1744. Time to wipe? The bus driver said. What does that mean? I didn't answer. The Titan pursued, clearing rows of parked cars as if he were a bulldozer that had opinions. The witch finally lost her grip and pinwheeled off. We skidded around a corner and straight into a weirdly pristine, ultra-white cube of a building that had never been on this street. A pop-up shop with a clean black sign. Patch notes. Inside, real staff in black t-shirts blinked at us as we piled out. A girl behind a white counter said, "Welcome to Patch Notes, where reality gets better," and then flinched as a sword cleaved the top half of the sign off behind her. Do you have anything? I asked. Like any patches? She reached under the counter, face white as paper, and brought up a blister pack. We just got these. Nerf stickers? You stick them on problems? The bus driver swiped a sleeve across his forehead. We are absolutely a problem. Give me one, I said, and took the little foil square like it was a relic. It looked like a stupid sticker. A yellow rectangle with rounded corners and a bold black word, Nerf. I ran toward the door, Titan shadow eclipsing the glass. I climbed onto the hood of a car, then the roof, the metal hot under my palms. The Titan reared back, sword poised to split the building like an apple. I jumped, grabbed his crown, felt the fake plastic texture become very real under my fingers, and slapped the sticker over one of the lit gems. For a second, nothing. Then the gem dimmed. The crown's glow sputtered. The Titan's arm, which had been drawn back like a slingshot, slowed. His swing descended, gently. The blade tapped the sidewalk with a sad little clink. A tiny -1 floated up, apologetic. The park ranger hooped. Eva yelled, again. Limited supply, the patch notes clerk shouted. Those are, premium. A thunderclap rolled down the street. The sky ripple came back, harder this time, bending light. Another banner. Hotfix. Boss resistance applied. Enrage in 3 o'clock. Oh, come on, I groaned. The Titan looked right at me. Player responsible for patch detected, he intoned. His eyes, 2 squares of hate, locked onto mine. New directive, capture. The ground opened. No, not opened. Selected. The asphalt under my feet glowed with a white outline like a part in studio being dragged to a new folder. My balance went weird. I felt pulled, like a rope was around my torso tugging me in a direction the world didn't have. I grabbed the Titan's crown and held on, which is a sentence that would have made no sense yesterday. Let go, Eva screamed. If I do, I'm deleted. I shouted back. What felt like 1,000 invisible devs tried to move us like we were the wrong asset in the wrong place. Light pixelated. Sound thinned. For a heartbeat, I wasn't in the street. I was in a gray workspace, borderless, with only a grid and a menu in the Titan. His crown glowed brighter. He was the only saturated thing there. And above us, gigantic, I saw a cursor again. No, not a cursor, a hand. Not a hand. Something wearing the concept of a hand. I smelled dust and old coolant. Then Eva's fingers closed around my wrist. Real fingers. Cold. Trembling. She yanked. The bus driver grabbed her. The park ranger grabbed him. The cat carrier got wedged between knees like a doorstop against the vacuum. And suddenly I was back on the car roof, chest heaving, hands slick, crown inches from my face. The Titan drew breath. Phase 6, he announced. Co-op. Does that mean I didn't finish because down the street, at the far end, for more bosses turned the corner? I knew them all like you know nightmares. The Spider Queen, legs jointed wrong and glossy. The Pirate King, hat too big, cannon aimed at citizens. The glitched monk, body flickering between 3 skins every 2 seconds. And worst, the proxy, thin, smiling, face a smooth white oval with a single emote where features should be, changing with the speed of a lie. People screamed. The Spider Queen scuttled up a wall with the wrong number of clicks. The Pirate King fired a cannonball that had a little skull on it like someone couldn't resist adding flair. The glitched monk teleported 2 meters left, then back, then forward, each jump leaving a smear of afterimage. The proxy looked at me, and my phone vibrated with a text I didn't want to read. We're almost to you. Smiley face. Okay, the ranger said, very quietly. Now would be a good time to be a chosen one. I'm a guy who installed the wrong plugin, I said. Same thing, she said, and handed me her megaphone. Make it right. I looked at the bosses. At the sky. At the bus driver hauling the cat carrier to the back of the shop. At Eva, jaw set, flour in her hair from the exploded groceries. My heart thudded a beat that matched the DJ NPC's bass, who had somehow gotten his card inside, and was now spinning epic battle like it paid his rent. Listen, I said into the megaphone. My voice echoed down the street, crossed by banners and arrows and health bars. It's our map. They're here because we let them be here. They need us to accept their rules. The proxy cocked its blank head like a curious bird. My phone buzzed again. You're sweet when you're scared. I swallowed and kept going. So let's write our own. New rule. Bosses can be distracted by ridiculous stuff. Silence. Then, as if the city itself was a comedian who loved a good bit, 3 inflatable tube men popped into existence on the sidewalk, red, blue, yellow, flailing in a wind that hadn't existed a second ago. Every boss turned their head for a fractional, measurable second. The Spider Queen froze, 8 eyes reflecting red. The Pirate King said, ARR, out loud. The glitched monk flickered into a pose that looked suspiciously like he was taking a selfie with the tube men. The proxy's eyes turned into two little upward arches like a meme smile. Now, I yelled. Everyone, do something unrealistic. A skateboarder launched off a bench he'd never clear and did. A grandma hurled her purse with a perfect animation arc, and it boomeranged back into her hand with a little wow chime. A kid blew into a paper bag. It popped in a way that summoned confetti. Eva grinned, reached into the patch notes tip jar, and slammed another Nerf sticker onto the Titan's crown. The gem went out like a light. Stack the debuffs, she shouted, like she'd lived in raids her whole life. The ranger grabbed a display mannequin, spun, and stabbed the Pirate King's hat off his head. He yelped and covered his bald, blocky scalp. The bus driver threw the cat carrier into the air on reflex. The cat burst out like a furry grenade and landed on the Spider Queen's face. She spun, screeched, and slammed into a wall hard enough to stick. The proxy moved. 1 second it was across the street. The next it was close enough to fog my breath with its not breath. It reached out with a polite little hand. Want to trade? It asked from my phone speaker in my own voice. I grabbed its wrist. It was colder than the grid. No, I said, calm in a way that surprised me. I want you to log out. Its eyes flipped to XS like dead cartoon eyes. It laughed silently. The DJ dropped the bass. The city leaned in to listen. I did the only thing I could think of. I opened my phone. At the top of my screen, where there should have been my carrier and the time, there was a tiny, hateful app. World Merge, beta. My thumb hovered. When had I tapped it before? Midnight yawning? I tapped it again. A prompt filled the screen. You are host. Do you wish to roll back? Yes/no. My thumb shook. What happens if you do? Eva asked, breath close, voice tiny and real. Maybe we wake up, I said. Maybe we lose everything since the merge. Maybe. I looked at the faces around me. Scared teenager. Cat with murder in its eyes. Bus driver gripping the wheel like an anchor. Ranger with a mannequin spear. Patch notes clerk holding a stack of Nerf stickers like Eucharist. DJ Panda bobbing his head. Gnome NPC with his unkillable press eat a fish loop. Eva, flower on her lashes, chest rising and falling. Maybe the bosses stop hunting us, I said. Maybe they hunt the next city. Or maybe they hunt me somewhere worse. Or, the proxy said sweetly, through a traffic light, through a cracked smartwatch, through the bus radio, maybe nothing changes. Maybe you're already rolled back, sweetheart. The time to wipe ticked, 1:14. The Titan howled. Gems recklit. Nerf dimmed. Enrage bled into the sky like sunset itself had been coated in a hurry. I hit yes. Silence, like the moment in a theater when the lights are about to drop and everyone holds their breath. The sky flickered. The bosses twitched. The street emptied of pop-ups, filled with them, emptied again. My phone screen went black, then white, then filled with a progress bar that said reverting. 1%, 2%, 1%, 0%. Error. A new banner bisected the street, bigger than any before, letters crisp like knives. Rollback failed. Host locked. The proxy leaned in, its polite little knot mouth close to my ear even though it didn't have one. I told you. It whispered from the ribbon cable of an ATM, you're the host. You can't leave the party. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I grabbed the proxy by its smooth, featureless head and slammed it into the Titan's knee like a folding chair at a wrestling match. The Titan staggered. The proxy acted surprised, then delighted, then furious, its eye flipping through emoji like channels. Okay, I said. New rule. And I said it out loud, not to the bosses, but to the city, to the map, to whatever in me had written bad code with sleepy hands. Bosses are allergic to laughter. It was the dumbest rule. It was the truest thing I had left. Eva looked at me like I'd lost it, then smiled with all her teeth. She turned to the DJ and did the worst dance I have ever seen. The ranger snorted and then guffawed, clutching her mannequin spear. The bus driver snorted, tried to stop, failed. The teenagers cracked. Someone started cackling like a villain. The patch notes clerk hiccup laughed, covering her mouth. I laughed too, not because any of this was funny, but because the alternative was to let the bosses write the ending. The Titan flinched. His health bar ticked down by a single pixel. The proxies.I turned into a flat line. The Spider Queen shook like a dog coming out of a bath. The glitched monk stepped, stumbled, broke animation, and fell through the ground exactly 1 foot, then popped back up looking offended. Again, I said hoarse. We laughed like our lives depended on it. We told bad jokes in a circle while we parried sword swings and slapped Nerf stickers and hurled grocery items at legend tier enemies. We created the most cursed, beautiful co-op I've ever seen. The city trembled. The progress bar on my phone reappeared. Sync drift, 49%, 51%, 53%. The boss's edges softened. The DJ Panda's bass turned silly. The gnome whispered, "Press E to fish." And someone finally pressed E. A fishing line zipped into the fountain and yanked out a glimmering golden pop-up. It hovered over the water, rotating slowly, humming. "What is it?" Eva breathed. The label rotated into view. Patch, DGGRO. The Titan charged. The world tilted. The wipe timer hit 0:09. We didn't have time to vote. We didn't have time to agree. Eva grabbed the golden patch. It stuck to her palm like light. She slammed it onto my chest. For a split second I thought she'd betrayed me, that she'd de-aggroed herself and handed me to them. Then the patch sank through my shirt and bloomed outward like heat in cold metal. The aggro arrow above my head snapped, turned gray, and dropped through the street like a lost key. The Titan blinked. The proxies.I turned into a question mark. The Spider Queen cocked her head. The Pirate King looked at his cannonball and shrugged. They couldn't find me. They couldn't find me. They looked, and their gaze slid off like oil on glass. The bosses searched the crowd with cartoon patience, then impatience, then glitching frustration. The wipe timer hit midnight. It didn't wipe. Somewhere, quietly, a bell rang, like a round had ended. The bosses turned, one by one, and stepped back toward the portal that yawned above the fountain, as if pulled by an invisible event script. The Titan went last. He looked right through me with eyes that still refused to see. "Phase 7, he said in a voice that rattled my bones. "Adaptation." Then they were gone. Silence held. Real silence. The kind with birds and breath and fragile human sounds. My legs shook. The DJ Panda, dedicated to his craft, turned the volume down finally. The gnome cast another line into a fountain that was just a fountain again. I sagged against the bus and laughed until there were tears in my eyes. Eva slid down beside me. "Are we safe?" she asked. I looked at my phone. The World Merge app had retreated to the top corner of my screen like a guilty spider. Its icon pulsed once, like a heartbeat. A new little red dot appeared beside it. One. I tapped it. A message unfolded, not in any font I knew, but I could read it anyway. Maybe because I was the host. "Bosses retreat when target is unseen by the rules," it said. "Good move. See you when we patch that." Underneath, in a smaller, nastier font. "Next time, we hunt the ones you love." I closed my eyes. The city was already smoothing out, the glowing rings fading, the health bars thinning like fog in sun. People hugged. The ranger shook the patch notes clerk's hand like they'd just signed a peace treaty. The bus driver found his hat on a display rack somehow and put it back on, crooked. The cat groomed its paw like none of us mattered. Eva nudged me with her shoulder. "Hey," she said softly. "You're breathing." "I forgot not to," I said. She smiled. "We made a rule. We can make more." I nodded, forehead against the window. "We'll need them." We sat there as the world patched itself around us, slower now, kinder at the edges. In the distance, somewhere I couldn't see, something big laughed politely and made a note. That night, when I finally stumbled home, past real mailboxes, real floor numbers, my door still cracked, and the wall still bearing a Titan silhouette, I opened my laptop. Roblox Studio was already running. It had opened itself. A new place sat in my projects list. It was named after my street. The thumbnail was my building, but with a crown on top. The description read, "Host. Online." A chat bubble popped up in the corner of my screen, like the kind you see in hub lobbies, except this one bled a little around the edges and smelled like ozone. "Hey host," it typed, dot by dot, the letters appearing on my monitor and on the reflection in the window like they were written on glass. "Nice patch today. Next update pushes tomorrow. Can't wait to see how you adapt." I closed the laptop without touching it, heart thundering in my ears, the taste of metal in my mouth. Down the hall, someone's kettle whistled. And then, In the dark of my apartment, the sound of a health bar shattering scraped through the walls again. But this time, it came from the apartment next door. I stood very still, hand on the doorknob, and listened as a familiar boss voice purred from the other side. Sweet as code, cold as a crash. Phase 1, it said. Intro. I took a breath that wasn't brave and didn't feel like defeat either. Somewhere between. The weird middle where rules get written. And I reached for the handle, because I had a new rule, and it burned in my chest like a sticker dissolving into blood. The host doesn't run. I open the door.